Hello everyone, I'm Brian and welcome to Answering Comments Part 2. Although I'm sure I answered a lot of the things that I wanted to say in here on other videos, hopefully I get to the comments that will make me answer it again. Okay, so the first comment that I'm reading here, I won't say the name, I don't know if people want their name read or not, but it says, as some other commenters have also said, the pen example is Vishisht Advaita, not Advaita. Advaita wouldn't agree that example because Brahman is infinite and anything infinite cannot be divided into parts. If anything can be divided, then it is not infinite. Nothing can be added or subtracted from infinite. It cannot be multiplied nor divided. And yeah, it says, note these are just my opinion, my views, sorry. So, I don't know, I mean, nothing infinite can be added or subtracted. Or multiplied or divide. I would agree. It's not saying. I think a lot of people have I don't know, maybe misunderstood me in terms of the pen comment, or maybe I didn't come across clearly. I mean, any one of those could have been true. Maybe I didn't come across clearly. So, well, actually, let me go grab one of my better pens. So the pen. So whenever I say, again, no one so far out of all the comments that I read pointed out the time frame of the pen, so I don't know exactly which quote I said that everyone's pointing towards. But when I say this is Brahman, it's not to say that Brahman is limited to this pen. It is just part of Brahman in a sense. So like my skin is all part of my, let's just say my body. The skin is part of my body, the finger is part of my body, my eyes is part of my body, the hair is all part of my body. It is not separate from my body, but these are individual things that are all coalesced to this one big thing called my body. It is not separate from my body. It is not the limitations of my body. It is just a part of the bigger whole. And it's not, when I say a part of the bigger whole, I don't mean that there's two separate things. It's more along the lines of it's very hard to describe things that are infinite. So, for example, I'm moving on to another example. I'm trying to find a way to word this, but like things that are ungraspable, it's very difficult to explain. So I'm going to try another example. So, you know, the numbers between 1 and 2 are number 1 and number 2 are finite. The numbers between 1 and 2 are infinite. It's really weird to think about that. It blew my mind whenever I learned that in math. I'm like, what do you mean it's infinite? You know, there's or between 0 and 2, there's infinite numbers there. You're like, no, wait, there's 0, 1, 2. What do you mean there's infinite number? No, it's because you can go 0. Then you go 0.0000000. You can put as many zeros as you want. Infinite numbers of zeros. And then you can, or you say 9 billion zeros and then a 1. Then you can go 0.09 billion zeros, then 2. And then you can go, again, it's like an infinite numbers between, even between 0 and 0.1. There's an infinite number there. But it's just all those numbers are part of that infinite. Kind of like the pen is part of the infinity. It is itself Brahman. It's just because we can see it as a part of Brahman that seems limited, but Brahman itself is not limited to the pen, but the pen is I hope I'm coming across okay. The pen looks limited, but in reality it is not limited. It is part of Brahman, but it is not only Brahman. It is, what else can I say that hopefully will come across. Again, I could still be wrong. And it's because, again, I am still learning all of this. But I will say this, that I understand that everything that ever exists is Brahman. Nothing cannot be, nothing, everything has to be Brahman. All objects, all space, all of time. Brahman is not limited by time. Brahman is not limited by object. Brahman is not limited by space. The three things Swamiji talked about. Whenever I was saying this is Brahman, this pen here, I'm not saying that this is only Brahman and Brahman is limited by this pen. It is not. But it is part of Brahman, part of this whole collective thing of Brahman. All existence is Brahman. This exists, so therefore this is Brahman. You know, I hope I'm coming across understandably. Maybe I can draw it out here. Let me bring up, crap. I didn't set this up right. Okay, there, put it there. Hopefully this will show up correctly. So imagine everything on this thing around. Oops, yeah. Let's write it in white or a different color than dark. Maybe we'll go this one. Okay, so everything in here, outside of this area, everything in here is all there is and ever will be. So me drawing that pen is part of everything. This pen and even this arrow and even the squiggles here are all part of Brahman. It is not something separate from Brahman, is basically what I'm saying. So this is still technically non-duality because it's all in Brahman itself. And that's what I was just merely trying to point out. Like, again, I could still be wrong. Everyone, well, not everyone, there are some people who pointed out this, like a different kind of Advaita, and I looked it up, and it says that it's a qualified monism or qualified non-dualism. I heard Swami J talking about that. That's so confusing to me. What does it mean by qualified non-dualism? I mean, if it's non-dual, it's non-dual. There's no questions about that. There's no, I mean, maybe how the beliefs go could be different, but it doesn't change the fact that it's still non-dual, meaning there's nothing separate from Brahman. So qualified dualism, it sounds very strange to me. So yeah, so I guess I need to learn more about what the next thing to learn is qualified non-dualism. I thought there was just dualism and non-dualism, and now there's qualified and maybe unqualified. I don't know. Qualified non-dualism. I'm like, holy crap, we're getting to the nitty-gritty here. But I've always assumed non-dualism to just be the end-all, be-all, because you're either non-dualist or dualist, or I think maybe did they mean to say not separate and separate. And the reason why I would say it that way is because dualism assumes that there's two different things, and there may be some people who believe in living organism, inanimate objects, and then God. So there's three things there, and I know Swami J talked about that, where there are some that has that belief where it's not dualist, it's like triplist. So maybe not separate and separate may be a better terminology. I don't know, because separatism would just say either me and something else separate, or me, something else, and then something else separate. But anyways, I've always thought non-dualism and dualism, and that is it. If you're dualism, that means you are separate from anything else, or however many different things. And non-dualist just means that everything is Brahman. But now we have qualified non-dualism, which is, I've not heard that. I mean, I'm sorry, I heard that in Swami J, but I've not watched any videos discussing the difference between qualified non-dualism versus non-dualism. So another video for me to watch. Alright, so that was one of the comments. Let me go ahead and pause it so I can see what the next one's gonna be. Okay, so the next comment. To understand that you are not the projected mirage, but the sand underneath, neti neti, is required. Then when I realize you are the sand, then I also embrace this projection by iti iti. So I get it. So basically this is talking more along the lines of Brahman and Maya. A lot of people have commented saying that Brahman created Maya to experience itself. Again, it's very weird to say that, because Swami G says that, you know, if you can experience it, it's not yourself. But I can understand this need to separate yourself as a way of understanding non-duality. It's very weird, though, I will say, but I can understand people think differently, and like, again, how people solve the puzzles. Everyone solves puzzles differently, so I get it, you know. Although to me, neti neti is definitely dualism, absolutely, and I think everyone so far has agreed to that. And iti iti is non-dualism, which is how I understand both neti neti and iti iti, is the fact that, you know, non-dualism means there's nothing separate, absolutely, and there's no such thing as Maya and karma and all of this stuff. Now, some people, I do believe, if I remember correctly in the comments, that, you know, karma and all these things still do exist. Now, not very many people have said that, but some have, and I just can't understand that in a non-dualistic world, because we are not separate from each other. So our karma would be us as well, because again, Brahman is everything. Therefore, we are Brahman. Karma is Brahman. That this pen is Brahman. So karma and us are the same. And I guess by default, there's no such thing as karma as well, probably. Again, I definitely would have to watch videos to see how to explain how karma affects us individually, considering that we are all Brahman in a non-dualistic way, how karma would affect us, because that doesn't make sense to me. Alright, I'm going to pause again and go to the next comment. Okay, next comment real quick. First, neti neti to find true self, then all iti iti after realization. So yes, I get it. Sometimes, but it's kind of weird. Again, I kind of answered this in the last one, but I just delve a little bit. It's just really weird to go into a false reality to go to a true reality, when in realization that we've in a non-dualistic world, it's kind of weird that we're already in a false reality, and we have to go into another false reality to go into reality itself. It's like going down a fake hole to go to another fake hole, or making a wrong turn and making another wrong turn to get to the right turn. But, you know, again, everyone works differently, and I get it. Alright, pausing again. Alright, so the next thing here is to be Brahman, that plastic should pervade everything. I mean, I see you're laughing, so I think you're joking, but I want to just clear up just a little bit, just in case. I can't quite read people based on comments alone, but yeah, that's just to say, because plastic has always existed. The materials, the atomic level of plastic, we can break it down to the most basic elements and then reassemble it to make plastic again. But the thing is, those elements have never just come into existence. They have always existed. It's just a matter of what form and what shape. Ever famous saying is that energy cannot be created nor destroyed, it can only change forms. Much like the materials of this world. We eat food, we process it, it changes in our body, and we poop some of it out. Basically, we do poop everything out eventually, but that's the whole point. It's just that in the atomic level, it doesn't get destroyed; it just changes. So it's it has always been here. It's just changing forms. So, in like a sense that Brahman is always here. It's all shapes, all forms, all everything. There's nothing that Brahman is not, and there's no time limitation of Brahman. Brahman's outside of time, because time is limiting, and Brahman is not limited by time. Yes, let's leave it at that. Alright, so next comment is, we are human, that is reality, but we are Christian, Muslim, Hindu, Jewish, and that's Maya. I hope you understand this. Absolutely. These are basically what Sadhguru is talking about, identifiers, like male, female, or liking a color, or liking a brand. Each of these identities, in a sense, can limit who you are, but it's all a matter of how you interpret these things, or how you handle these things. Saying that you like a particular color, or saying that you're a Christian, Muslim, Hindu, or Jewish, can be limiting if you yourself and other people around you make that as a limitation. So what I mean by that is that you can be Christian and would not hate anyone else for not being in the same religion as you. You can be Christian and still love everyone equally. Then you're not using that identifier as Christian as a way of separation or limitation. It's just an identifier at that point. Just an idea of what kind of person you are, or the ways that you follow. So, but if you say, oh, I'm Christian and I don't like anyone else that's not Christian, then that identifier has now become a limitation. When you say, oh, I'm Christian, but I love everyone equally and they can worship whatever they want, then that identifier is just an identifier of you, of the kind of person you are, maybe the ways that you follow, let me say that. But it's not a limitation necessarily. It is everything, I guess, is a limitation to a degree, but just how much of a limitation. Anything which enslaves or limits you, that is Maya. And reality which makes you free and limitless is called Brahman. I mean, I guess the problem, I don't know if this is talking in terms of duality or non-duality. Again, but in terms of Brahman and Maya, generally speaking, this is a non-duality's perspective. But because Brahman and Maya are the same, again, if we talk about non-duality, there is no thing other than Brahman. All other things that we label, Maya, myself, this pen, the air, the Alpha Centauri planet, all those are my illusions, fake things, Maya basically, but only it's identified as Maya because of mislabeling. But all those things are in fact Brahman. So yeah, I guess enslaving and limiting is Maya. Yeah. So, but the thing that I want to clearly say is I think Maya is more along the lines of misunderstanding and mislabeling, not that it is. I guess you could say it's an illusion too. That it's not separate from Brahman. It's just a label under Brahman. It's not something separate from Brahman, but more along the lines of a label to say that you mislabeled something. It makes you feel free. Okay, I get it, yeah. So yeah, I've always thought of this Maya as like a physical illusion that's separate from Brahman. And I know people have been saying that it's... well, at least the things I've understood when I watched the video, it's always felt like it was something separate. And I've always said that it's the same, but it's, if Maya is the same, then it's not Maya. But I guess the definition that makes it understandable for me is the fact that Maya itself is just a Maya means misunderstand, which Swami G says this, misunderstanding or mislabeling of things. Okay, I can get behind Maya then. Okay. Well, there goes that puzzle clicked into place, I think. Alright, let me pause so I can get to the next comment. Okay, so next comment. Materials, i.e. pen, are projections of Brahman, part of Brahman, but not Brahman itself. Knowledge of pen won't liberate you. Knowledge of self will liberate you. Now, this is a little bit confusing in terms of a non-dualistic point of view. Again, I guess I have to keep saying that just to make sure I'm clear. Material, i.e. pen, are projections of Brahman, part of Brahman, but not Brahman itself. That makes it seem like there's a duality there. Because if there's something that exists then outside of Brahman, then there's a duality. But he says projections of Brahman. Well, something has to reflect those projections. If you say Brahman itself is reflecting the projection, then it's still Brahman then. Part of Brahman. If it is part of Brahman, then it is Brahman. But not Brahman itself. Well, Brahman itself is not limited to any singular object. It is all objects, all existence, all of time. Outside of the limitations of time. It's not limited by space, not limited by object, and not limited by time. So the pen itself is Brahman. At least, again, as far as I understand how Brahman works, or what is Brahman. So I would say, in terms of my understanding, you'd be wrong to say that it is not Brahman itself. It is. It's not. It is not the whole Brahman. It's part of Brahman, like you're saying. Brahman does not exist in this one single solitary pen, but it does exist in this single solitary pen. It's not limited by the pen, but it is the pen itself as well. Much like it is in this pen as well. I guess I don't know. Two pens. Both Brahman, both not limited to the pen alone, but they are Brahman. They are the pen, they're the air between the pen, they're the void between the pen, they're the time between the pen, they're outside of the between the pen. It's everything, including the pen itself. It's not limited by the pen itself, but the pen itself is part of all of existence. If you want to quote it that way, Brahman is existence as well. Swami J said that. So therefore the pen itself is Brahman, but not limited to Brahman. Not limited to the pen itself. Alright, I'm going to pause for the next one. Alright, so next comment. When you say your pen is only a part of Brahman, Brahman, that's the way it's pronounced. I guess it's said that way too. I'll read it as it's spelled on here. It is not Advaita, rather it is Vasista Advaita, or qualified non-dual. Advaita and non-dual Vedanta is very radical in approach as it claims. Everything is Brahman, so your pen is not just a part of, but rather it is. That's what I mean whenever I say that the pen itself is Brahman. I'm not saying, maybe there's a bit of confusion there, maybe I misspoken, but what I really mean is that the pen itself is Brahman. I'm not saying that it's limited to the pen itself as well. It is just part of the bigger thing called Brahman. And Brahman is all of existence, so therefore the pen exists, so therefore it is also Brahman. I understand Brahman to be this, that the Brahman is not limited by an object, not limited by space, and not limited by time. It is all of object, it is all of existence, it is all of time. So I just want to clear that up just in case. I know I've said this many times before because, like I said, there's been many comments about my pen, and maybe I don't know at what time frame I said this. So just to clarify, and to answer all the questions, that I don't mean it to say that Brahman is limited to the pen, but it is part of this bigger thing called existence or Brahman, and it's the materials itself has always existed. Well, as far as we know, that has always existed, and it's just changing shapes and forms. All right, pausing. All right, so this next comment says 326. Okay, here I got you. Everything is Brahman is not non-duality. That makes it sound like that then it is duality, because that's double negatives would cancel each other out. It is Vasista Advaita. Visistha. All is not Brahman is all is not Brahman, only is Advaita Vedanta. This doesn't sound right to me. Everything is Brahman is duality. Or let me quote it precisely. Everything is Brahman is not non-duality. It is Vasista Advaita. Brahman is not non-duality. Everything is Brahman is Vasista Advaita. All is not Brahman is all is not Brahman, only is Advaita Vedanta. This one is confusing. It sounds contradictory to what I've been watching, unless I'm definitely misunderstanding, I'm sure. Just don't know where I need to either add or remove words. Again, let me go ahead and read it verbatim here. Okay, here I got you. Everything is Brahman is not non-duality. It is Vasista Advaita. All is not Brahman, only is Advaita Vedanta. All is not Brahman. only is. Brahman, okay, everything is Brahman is not non-duality. It is Vasista Advaita. So to rephrase that, everything is Brahman is Vasista Advaita. All is not Brahman, only is Advaita Vedanta. That's confusing to me. Absolutely. I definitely needed some explanations on that comment. I am completely lost. That doesn't make sense to me based on the videos that I've watched before, so I am definitely confused here. Let me know if you understand that. I'll say it one more time in completion. Okay, here I got you. Everything is Brahman, is not non-duality. It is Vasista Advaita. All is not Brahman, only is Advaita Vedanta. So that's verbatim of what they typed. There's no real comments or anything. So I don't know where I need to stop. I assume I made the right stops early on. So that's it for that comment. Pausing it. Okay, next comment. 4-minute marker. Maya is Brahman can be said only if you are ready to say snake is the rope. But you know there is no snake and it is illusion of rope. Same way Maya is Brahman, it is an illusionary scope, but in reality there is no Maya. 844 marker, time marker. Maya is not part of Brahman, it is an appearance of Brahman. That makes more sense now that as I'm answering these comments, mind you, maybe even my older answers in the same video may not make, well, I want to say like, because as I read and read and read and think and think and think, I get better and better understanding of this thing. So maybe even some of my older answers in this video may be even different from what I'm thinking now. So 844 marker, time marker. Maya is not part of Brahman, it's an appearance of Brahman. 1020 time marker. Yes, you may argue you are the body, mind, because ultimately everything is Brahman. But these statements merge two levels of reality, Brahman and Maya. I think that could be a problem to say that there are two levels of realities, meaning duality. And I think that can be confusing, at least for me, it would be confusing saying, hey, wait, I thought everything is a non-duality. There's no two levels, there's only one reality. So how can you say it's merging two levels of reality, Brahman and Maya? So let's continue on with the comment. You are not body and mind because it is part of Maya, and Maya is not real. So when we say you are not body mind, we are talking about from the point of view of Brahman. But from point of view of Maya, you are body mind, even considering everything as Brahman. So that's very, I won't say very confusing, but that is confusing. It's weird to say that your body and mind is not you, but yet to say that Brahman is everything. Brahman is all existence, all objects, all space. And to say that the body, which is part of existence and part of space, though may be limited, it's still part of Brahman. Brahman itself is not limited to it. But I think whenever you say maybe that, again, I think the better understanding is the fact that we understand Maya as a mislabeling, maybe. At least for me, that seems to work. To say that we are... Hold on, I'm going to have to pause to think about this a little bit more. Okay, I think, so the misunderstanding is the fact that we think that we are limited. We're limited to each other, we're limited to our space, we're limited to this body. That's Maya, and that's the misunderstanding. But from the perspective of Brahman itself, this body is part of Brahman. This limited body is part of Brahman, but it's not Brahman. Wait, this body is part of Brahman, but it's not limited. This body is part of Brahman, but it's not limited to this body alone. I think that's a better way to say it. So to say that this body is Brahman, but it's not limited to this body. This the space this body takes up is part of Brahman, but not limited to the space that this body takes up. This body's time frame, when it was created until when it's destroyed, is part of Brahman, but not limited to the time itself that the body exists. Even though my body will continue to exist, just not in the same shape and form. It'll decompose and go back out into the earth and be eaten by whatever else eats me next. I'll become part of the food chain again. So I guess that's how I understand Maya, to make it make a lot of sense to me, is that Maya doesn't exist at all. It is more along the lines of a way to say that you just misunderstand the world. That's all it is. It's not an illusion. It could be a mirage though, because an illusion would say that something exists, I think. Not an illusion. It had to be a misunderstanding. Again, misunderstanding makes more sense than illusion, I think. Because the rope and the snake incident, where when you're walking down the road or whatever, and you see this long this long object, you think it's a snake, but as you get closer, it's a rope. It's not an illusion. It's just a misunderstanding of what it actually is, just because you don't have the knowledge of it, but it still does exist. A mirage, on the other hand, is something along the lines that you think something is there, but it's really not. So to say like this pen would not be a mirage because it is actually here. Again, a mirage would be if I'm holding up, if I'm doing this, and you think you see a pen there, but as I bring it closer, it's like nope, no pen. Because the pen never existed in the first place, but you thought it did. So to say, I think, for me anyway, to say Maya, to define Maya, it's just a misunderstanding of the world, I think. It is not an object. Maya is not an object. Maya is more of an explanation of something, of the world, on how we misunderstand the world, I think. I think that works better for me. Because to say that Maya is an object would be a lie, because there is no object called Maya. And there's objects only called part of Brahman, basically, because everything's Brahman. So again, I'm not saying that Brahman's limited to the object. I'm just saying that if there is something that exists in the world, it is part of Brahman. So there's no such thing as this object is Maya and then this object is Brahman. No, that would have the dualities perspective at that point. So Maya is not to say there's an actual object that exists, but more of an explanation of how we interpret the world. I think that works best for me. I will still have to have people try to destroy my theory if possible, and also to continue to think about it as I read people's comments and watch videos. Alright, pausing for the next comment. Okay, so this next one, I have thought about this quite a bit, a lot more than the others. So, alright, here goes the comment. 310 time marker. I don't agree that everything is Brahman, but experience and experience cannot be the same. Is contradictory, because Brahman is everything in reality, but in Maya, everything is separate, so experience and experiencer is different. In Maya, excuse me. That wasn't in the quote. That wasn't in the comment, I swear. So let me repeat that last part. Because Brahman is everything in reality, but in Maya everything is separate, so experience and experience and experiencer is different in Maya. Man, I haven't used that thing in a little bit here. So let me go ahead and continue on. It is similar as dream, where you in dream world is different. That's why you can experience it, but in reality, you and dream world are the same. So far, I agree with you there, absolutely. And that's why I say, if you ever want to explain how non-duality works, I think the dream example is the absolute perfect example. I think a lot of people can understand it, because a lot of people dream. And I think a lot of people that dream will also see that in the dream they can only ever experience themselves, but not anything else in the dream. but the dream is all happening in their mind. And if they don't have this separation in terms of your Turiya and the mind, where the mind is everything to them, then they should be able to experience everything in the dream, but yet they don't. Anyways, the dream is absolutely an amazing example of non-duality. So even though, let me go back in the comment, so even though you in dream world is same, you in reality, you are not contradicting the statement that experience and experiencer cannot be the same. Making separations when talking about Maya and reality is must if we want to understand non-duality. So here goes the neti iti part. Oh, okay. Let me see how I'm gonna do this. Hopefully I don't have to pause too much. I think this might be the last one. It's running a little long here. Okay. So, okay. Because Brahman, everything. Okay. I don't agree with that. Let me go ahead and read the comment again. Everything's Brahman, but experience and experience cannot be the same as contradictory. Because Brahman is everything in reality, but Maya, everything is separate. So the problem with this is the fact that we're saying that, oh, well, let me grab a pen here. Let me go with blue this time. Okay, so it's saying Brahman, and then here's Maya. So we just put this in a little box here, and then a little box here. I don't know where I'm going with this. Let's just go with this. Okay, so because Brahman is everything in reality, but Maya is everything. But in Maya, everything is separate. So whenever I read it like this, it seems dual. Brahman is everything in reality. So reality. I don't know why I did that. And this is non. Oh, that looks like a non-reality. So basically, it makes it seem like there's this duality of a world of reality versus non-reality, or yes. So that's the reason why I don't like to use Maya as a. I like to use Maya saying a misunderstanding, because a misunderstanding is not creating a separate world. It is just you are saying that you live in the same world, but understand it differently. Again, I haven't really worked out how I define Maya yet. And at least what I mean by define Maya, I mean like how I can completely understand it. I've so far saying Maya as a misunderstanding can make a lot of sense to me so far in terms of non-duality. Okay, so Brahman is everything, but in Maya everything is separate. Brahman is everything in reality, but Maya everything is separate. So experience and experiencer is different in Maya. So again, like it's saying that this is one reality and this is a different reality, because in Brahman everything's the same, but in Maya reality everything is separate. So that I've heard this explained to me earlier in my journey on this, and it's so, and that's what confuses me. It's like you're saying there's two realities, but it's a non-duality. So this cannot, in my mind, again, my mind, I can't speak to anyone else. Maybe if they understand it this way, that's fantastic. So clear, okay. And the dream, oh, sorry, let me go back. But yeah, that's the reason why I don't like to say Maya as like an alternate reality or a false reality. That indicates that there's a separate reality in my mind. To say that there's only one reality and Maya is just our misunderstanding of that one reality. Perfect, because it still keeps the one reality, and Maya is just saying that you're misunderstanding that one real reality. There's not this separate reality that's called Maya that we're misunderstanding at all. It is similar as dream, where you and dream world is different. That's why you can experience it, but in reality, you and dream world is same. Agreed. Where you and the dream world are absolutely the same, but when you wake up and realize that you're dreaming that world, you realize that you misunderstood the fact that you are separate from the world, but you're still part of the world. Wait, where am I going with that? I guess really almost nowhere. But the sheer fact that this is all still the same world, the dream world. There's nothing separate from the dream world. Everything is the same. Although whenever you say you have the waker world and the dream world, but that's not speaking in terms of different realities. All the same reality, all the same Brahman, all the same in this one thing. Let's see. So even though you can, even though you and dream world is, even you and dream world is same. You in reality, you are not contradict statement that experience and experiencer cannot be the same. So even though you and dream world is same, you in reality, you are not contradict statement that experience and experiencer cannot be same. Making separations when talking about Maya and reality is must if we want to understand non-duality. So for me, I mean, I'll listen to everything to try to better understand it, because again, maybe no one sentence can ever explain anything to everyone. That one sentence can work for some people and may not work for another. And to me, to make a separate reality is absolutely confusing to me in terms of a non-duality, because you're creating two worlds that cannot exist in a non-duality in my mind. So everything must fall under, if I can write, fall under this world called Brahman, and everything in it. So when we say Brahman all includes all of this, which is Maya is this under, oh god, I'm looking at like I'm looking at a piece of paper standing, and what's included in Maya? All existence, all of time. It's not limited by any of this, and all space, all space, all of existence, all of time, and all of space. I guess I should put like all and all. There we go. Ah, perfect. Doing it on the spot. So Brahman includes all of existence, all of time, and all of space. It's not limited to any particular existence. It's not limited to any particular time. It's not limited to any particular space. If it exists, it is Brahman. If it doesn't exist, therefore it cannot be Brahman. But that's what Swami J said. Okay, so I'm leaving that to him. But basically, everything is Brahman. There's nothing excluded from it. So Maya cannot say this is a separate object in my mind again. So again, still, if you want to try to separate the world in terms of my understanding, it's not working for me. But maybe someone else who reads the comments, it may help them out. So don't be afraid to say that, but also maybe try to explain it in the sense of there's only ever one world, one reality. So, and for me so far, saying Maya is a misunderstanding of the world works very much in terms of non-duality. Yeah, Brahma. So what I was gonna write? But yeah, Maya. If we cannot say this, cannot say for me. Maya is you cannot say that Maya is a separate. Oh god, why am I looking down for reality? Because that would, to me, indicate duality. So, to me, check. This one, no. We cannot say, and this is the neti neti and iti iti explanation. This is not to say this is an iti iti explanation right here, But this is definitely the neti-neti explanation, because it's separating. I believe anyway, from again my understanding. That's the only thing I can ever speak from my own personal experience, my own personal understanding, is that neti-neti is to say we need a separation so we can understand eti-eti. That guy freaking asked the question. Now, what is that going to ask? You cannot have a separation. Everything has to be Brahman. So iti-iti is definitely my way of doing it. So with iti-iti, Maya as a misunderstanding is perfect. So Maya saying that there's a separate reality, no, that's a misunderstanding of reality. A separate reality, no, that's misunderstanding. Thinking that we're all separate beings is a misunderstanding. Thinking that this pen and me is separate, this is not a pen, this is a digital pen, but thinking that me and this thing is separate, it's not, it's a misunderstanding. Thinking that I am this body, even though in Brahman everything's the same, but understanding of the neti-neti portion, that I am this body, is a misunderstanding. I am this body, but I'm also everything else. I guess the misunderstanding there is the fact that I am this body and only this body is the misunderstanding. To say that I am this body is true, but it's not limited to this body of who I am, which is Brahman. I hope that makes perfectly clear. Let me erase this real quick. Let me jot this part down. How do I say? This body is me, or I, should I say, but I am Brahman. That sounds terrible. Body is me, I am Brahman, I don't know, I keep looking down like I'm writing on a paper. I am everything. Or I am existence. It's not limited. I don't know why I'm writing this down. not limited by time. By time, space, or object. I am existence, not limited by time, space, or object. But by saying I am this body, I'm not saying that I'm only the body, but I am the body, but not limited to the body. Not only the body, not limited by the body. It's that first part's convoluted, but basically I am the body. It's true because I am Brahman, this body is Brahman, but the misunderstanding is the fact that thinking that I am only this body, but I am this body, but not limited by the body, not limited by time, not limited by space, not limited by object. Saying I'm not limited by the body, saying I'm not limited by the object. Maybe, I mean, hey, look, if I misunderstand at least that first portion, I'm sure there might maybe some people are confused there, maybe, but it's just to say that I am this body, but I have to understand that I'm not limited to this body, I am not limited to this time, I'm not limited to this space. Or, well, Brahman, obviously, because we are Brahman, therefore we are not limited by anything. This body is not limited by anything. That seems contradictory because the body is in fact limited, but if you look at it in terms of the atomic scale, this body will decompose, but the atoms and everything that compose of this body is still there. But the shape changes. That's the main thing. It's the shape. The body will always exist. It just changes shape. It will no longer be the body after some time frame. Maybe I'm just spewing out a whole bunch of confusion there, but I hope you understand what I mean. Because again, like whenever we kill animals or kill the plants to grab their seeds or fruits or whatever, we consume the plant and then becomes part of our body. Eventually, that plant matter will come out into number twos, and then eventually a plant will eat the number twos, and then produce fruit, and then we eat that fruit. It's that infinite cycle of changing atoms of whatever the body or the fruit or the animal or the tree or whatever it is. Again, much like the pen has never existed. The materials needed to make the pen wasn't just manifested out of thin air. It has always existed. We just changed its form. Well, to say that it's always existed, let's say that as far as we know has always existed. It has just changed forms. I hope that wasn't confusing, because whenever when I have to go back and the timestamp and listen to myself, sometimes I get confused of what I'm saying at the time. But I watched it a few times to understand it. Alright, that is it for this one. This run has run very long. I didn't think it would run this long. I figured I'd get a little bit more comments in there, but I hope this is not confusing. If it is, let me know. Timestamp it, please. That way I can go back and watch and hopefully clarify the answers. Anyways, if you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.